So yeah, thank you guys so much for having a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the show. Um and I was just like I've watched your guys' the press that you've submitted or not submitted, but that you've published about it and like why bug, why now? And yeah, I'm very excited to see what you guys do and to learn more about it right now. So I'm wondering, I guess, I to start off, it was published in the 90s and originally performed. And I guess we're kind of always living in a conspiracy era. They're always rampant. So I guess how do you guys feel is your approach like how are you thinking about making um like the issues that are covered in that applicable for now today?
Yeah. The play in the script it just says set in quote unquote present day, but we are interpreting that as the late 90s because of the way
Okay.
that they talk about technology, the way that they make very specific references to um like things that have happened in history and like um it makes the most sense then. But in the play, a lot of the big, scary, unknown bad has to do with the rise of machine and computer abilities, and especially like surveillance,
Oh yeah.
having like the idea of being bugged,
Yeah.
or having government spying on you, um, or without getting into spoilers, there's a moment where the idea that a person may not even may be a machine or could be used as a machine or could be something like that, that like you can't trust what you see, you can't trust what you hear, you can't trust that who you're talking to is who you're really talking to, and that does ring true, I think, in a big way. Unfortunately recently, I am always stressed by the idea of AI and generative AI, not a fan. But I mean, Jaimelyn, how long ago was Snowden? That was like the tw early 20 teens,
Yes.
because that was the first big whistleblowing about
2008.
like the government is reading all your stuff and
Yeah.
watching you through your camera and has seen every picture you've ever sent anyone, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like that was just kind of like the tip of the 21st century's version of all of this. And now we're in the world of like AI, and we just assume our phones are listening to us, and we just assume that anything you put
Assume.
online,
I
no,
feel like I
meaning like
have
it's a given, meaning
proof.
it's a normal thing, you know? It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I mean, my phone listens to me, and that's just not even oh my God, my screen just reloaded and it went to Zoom AI companion. Um, but anyway, that all of that stuff is where my brain goes when I hear the characters in the show talking about
Yeah.
like they could be watching you. You can't trust what people tell you. You can't trust what you see. You can't, um, like nothing is private anymore. There's a whole monologue, there's a whole speech about you're never safe. No one's safe. Maybe they were once long ago, but that's over. And by safe, it kind of means like free from uh, observation and manipulation. Um, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Jaimelyn?
I think you covered it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I too go to the I just think about all the videos that we see now that you don't know if it's a real cat or not and things like that.
Right.
And really I do not have the time or bandwidth in my life to sit there and figure out if it's a real cat or not. You know what I mean? And it just it and then like you said, you sort of become complacent where you're like, oh, my phone's just listening to me. No, I don't care if it's an AI cat or not, you know. And all these things that we get tied up in. Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking about, we already covered the Patriot Act with the God of Hell, and how we have a tendency to do things here at the Constructivists that really dip into the political, like, government side of things. And I think this really stands in the vein of tradition for us, that we poke at. poke at those things and make people think and reflect on the themes that are within Bug and how it reflects on your life.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that there's not necessarily a need to, you know, uh directorially like make a point about like this is the kind of technology we're talking about because this is 2026. It's like, well, we know what world we're living in right now, and so we can watch these characters set 20 years ago and it still rings true even if there's specifics that we can't relate to anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Or even the thought and reflection on how did we get here? How to see the tradition of the little inns, little steps of like I said, like the Patriot Act, and then then they're surveilling you, then it becomes this thing, then that thing, and now we have a whole AI set to deal with.
Yeah, AI it's freaky. Okay, so about the characters we're talking about, I'd love to know a little bit about Agnes and like I've been thinking about how do they feel like people we know, or is it, they're a little bit more like what's the word I'm looking for? Not caricatures, but like, the paranoia person, but um versus the gal who's going to be influenced by him. I'd love to know a little bit about her and their relationship.
Yeah. Well, the play takes place in a motel in Oklahoma, and so there's a little bit of maybe a cultural difference to what we in Milwaukee may see as quote unquote familiar to us. She is of a lower class, so she's living out of this motel. And there is a lot of influence of drugs and alcohol in her life. I feel, just in terms of my own research for the character and the connections that I have found, that I feel that she's using it as a as a self-medication to some traumas that she has experienced in her lifetime. And we do learn about these traumas as we go across the play. And so she's a very isolated person who has some challenges in her life as far as mental health and substance use are concerned. And so I think there are themes that people will feel are very familiar to them, and persons in their life, if they don't culturally feel like this is something that they have been a part of before.
Mhm.
But I feel like just as the themes of uh, surveillance and things have come through and across in our lives, and conspiracy theories, this is the themes of mental health and how we deal with stress that is in our lives is also a theme that's really familiar in this piece. But I feel like the because of where she's at in her life, it does make her really not I'm hesitant to use the word target, but I feel like it makes her an easy person to be influenced by the thought processes and ideas of another person. And that's so when Peter comes into her life, into her space, it is the confluence of all of these uh, experiences in her life that have made her somebody who is ripe for the environment that they end up in. So
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. Sorry, I'm at my parents' house and they're going inside. But yeah.
always somebody. It's always somebody. My husband will step in here in a few minutes, and I'll have to do the same thing. So don't worry about it.
Okay, so I would love to know, Maya, kind of what how did you come to be director of this, and how did you pick this out? Because I know obviously you guys kind of you're both part of the artistic team at the Constructivists. So what did the process look like for choosing this one?
Yeah, we were looking through stuff last spring. Jaimelyn does pretty much all of the hunting for scripts. Jaimelyn reads more scripts than I could name, and definitely more than I've ever read. And as a company member, then Jaimelyn will usually like send out emails of, hey, what about this script? Hey, check out this script, and run it by the rest of the company members to get opinions, and then uh, based on whatever everybody's thoughts are, or any, if someone brings up an issue like, ooh, but do we have the budget for this thing, or do we have the right person to play this role, whatever.
Do we really
Then
need a
we
dog on stage?
Sure, yeah. Like, okay, this play requires a huge practical effect that we don't have the
Yeah.
budget for or something, you know. Then we make the season. So Bug was one of the ones that got floated. And I was familiar with that one because I saw the Steppenwolf production back in like 2021, I think it would have been, something like that. Um, and so I was curious. I was like, oh, wait, but I remember that production having like all kinds of stuff that we don't have the budget for. And I was like, wait. So I reread the script and um, started to look at it through the constructivist lens of how would we make it happen? How would we interpret it? How would we, whatever. And um, thought that it was a great fit. And so it ended up getting picked. And then Jaimelyn approached me and asked if I had been, I'd been needling her off and on throughout the years of, hey, I'd love to direct sometime for Constructivists. And it, I think, ended up being the right time, the right match. And especially with the idea that this could be a great character for Jaimelyn to perform rather than Jaimelyn being the one directing. That was sort of how all of that came together. So yeah, and then it's been bug brain ever since of getting the wheels turning and all that stuff.
Yeah, totally cool. I like that. Yeah, I'm excited to see Jamie Lynn on stage. So, um, okay, I am also sorry, I'm distracted. There. So, what has the rehearsal process been looking like?
We started pretty much started mid-March. We had a table read back in February, but we started mid-March. It's a smallish cast, 5 people. Um, and we kind of have the first 2 weeks were kind of jam-packed. We did a day of table work, and then we were up on our feet blocking the whole thing. There's been several days of intimacy work, of violence choreography, um, and I don't know, we find the balance since it's a nice small cast. I think we're able to find the balance of what style of rehearsal works for different people. Of, hey, do you two want to just play and explore and I'll jump in later, or would you like me to be more prescriptive? Or, the actors being able to kind of request like, hey, today could we work on this scene instead of that scene? Or um, and we've been, yeah, we're kind of working our way through that way. Uh, what am I missing, Jaimelyn?
Act two all the time. Like that's what I'm super stressed about the end of this. It's so loaded. It's so this is we like to pick challenging stuff. Okay. I pick challenging stuff to put on stage, right? I like a tough time. And I think I think it's a real benefit to artists to really work on challenging material. I think it stretches our brains and helps us to better our skill sets and move forward as artists. And so I really I really appreciate the way that Maya works in that she's very present in, you know seeing how we are and seeing how we are doing, and making sure that we are doing things in a way that is serving us best in the moment. And so, like there are these big, huge monologues at the end of, well, they feel big and huge. They will fly by, I promise you. But when you're in the process of learning them and getting them in your bones, they feel epic. And so, we were just going through them last night, and she's very much like, do you need me to give you markers? Or, and I'm in this moment right now where it's still so super fresh that a little bit of room for improv is better for me to work out the scope of the material, because it's challenging material. It's the play is super smart, and it's really really funny in a lot of ways. And it's got a lot of work to do to get it to where we need it to be.
And I will add too that you mentioned this a little bit, Jaimelyn, that this show has the extra layer of challenge of the fact that it's got a lot of technical pieces
Yeah.
that take up a lot of problem solving time. Like there's some of that has to do with the design team. How are we going to do this set change? Something like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of things like, oh, I'm supposed to be juggling four props right now, kind of at the same time. When can I set this down? When can I do that? It's a very prop heavy show in that way. It's a very fast paced, there's a lot of fast paced, frantic scenes. And so being like, oh, halfway down the page, I'm supposed to be all the way over here, but here I'm supposed to be dressed, but here I'm supposed to be dressed in a different outfit, but here I'm supposed to be up on the bed, but here we're supposed to be moving the bed. And there's, especially by the time we get to the final scene where all hell breaks loose, as happens with a lot of great plays, uh, it turns into, okay, let's break down functionally, mechanically, what is happening in the scene? What's the order of operations? How are we going to get this bit of action done before this line that comes immediately after? And so that's been like a huge puzzle piece where I feel like with a lot of contemporary shows, especially like small cast, takes place in one room, contemporary drama, you get to be like, oh, let's just live in the characters. Let's live in the relationships. Let's find the flow. And this is like, well, the flow is pretty prescriptive based on what actions and bits of choreography need to happen at what time. And so it's been a more challenging way to have to frame that for me at least, of like, okay, we need to be very specific and choreographed about some of this stuff rather than just feeling it out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I guess when I think of a motel, like you said, like one room, small cast, contemporary drama, you think it's also going to take place like real time, and it seems like it jumps around in time a little bit more.
Yeah, it happens. Everything in the play happens chronologically, but there's big jumps of a character will be like, "Oh, didn't I see you 3 weeks ago?" And you're like, "Oh, that was the last scene." So trying to track time becomes very muddy throughout the play, which I think is intentional as we get more disoriented. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, moving a bed around. That's fun. It seems it's going to be a very physical show.
yeah, we got a lot going on.
Yeah. And I'm glad you also mentioned that, Jaimelyn, you said it's funny in a lot of ways. That
Yeah.
was going to ask, like, because I feel like with the constructivist, you can expect a lot of dark humor,
Oh,
and
100%.
yeah, so that's gonna be it's there.
Yeah, I think you can see that in a lot of Tracy Letts's writing, that it is very real and grounded in a lot of ways, but very psychologically challenging, and then a lot of dark humor dropped in, just unexpectedly sometimes, even that he does it to keep you on your toes, keep you a little bit, keep the balls in the air, which is something I very much appreciate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
I know that in past constructivist productions, Jaimelyn will bring a script up and be like, it's so funny. And I read it and I'm like, this is the darkest shit I've ever read. I feel like Jaimelyn, more often than not, you're very likely to describe a play as a dark comedy, where the vast majority of people might be like, this is a dark drama.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I appreciate that lens, and I think we're trying to find and pepper in that lens into this show of, we can't sit in the dark, the serious, the self-important of it all, because so much of that already exists on the page,
Yeah.
of the difficult and the emotionally, it gets draining, it gets heavy. And so leaning as hard as you can into, where is the light, where is the absurd, the like, this is what I'm watching is so insane that it almost becomes funny sometimes, and there's moments of that in the show, some more obvious than others, of straight up humor versus just, yeah, trying to find those tones of light in a very, like, emotionally heavy, otherwise heavy piece.
Yeah, I feel like it makes me think of, have you guys seen the Is This a Room at Milwaukee Chamber Theater?
Not
No, but
yet.
I've read the script.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Okay.
it yet.
Yeah, it's just the titular line is, it's the absurdity of like horrible situations. So
Yeah.
that's where the humor is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
That comes out a lot. I feel like I can understand how a dark drama, you're like, no, it's got light to it, because there has to be.
Yes.
Surely it's about life. So
I came across this exact thing recently because Schmitz and Giggles did Gruesome Playground Injuries, and we did Gruesome Playground Injuries. That was our first show that we ever did, right? And I had a little back and forth with Patrick Schmitz about that very point, that I'm saying that it's a dark comedy, and Patrick Schmitz is like, I'm telling people this is a drama because I don't want to tell people that it's a dark comedy, and then they're coming and they're like, this is not funny at all, what are you talking about? And I'm like, doubling down, I'm like, this is funny.
Especially for something like Schmitz and Giggles, where their audience might expect
Yeah.
a more straight up comedy
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
where's Schmitz and Giggles?
Schmitz and Giggles, he really likes the Inspiration Studio space now, in West Dallas, but they do a lot of their stuff just at Comedy Sports.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Good dude. Love that guy.
Hmm. Like sketch comedy, improv background.
Yeah. Yeah, he wrote with a bunch of his colleagues our Deadly Holiday this past year. Yeah,
Okay,
he
cool.
was the head writer of Deadly Holiday. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just I'll ask one last, like a little final. Is there anything that you want, besides what we've already discussed, that you would want audiences to know coming in or leaving?
I mean, this is a play that I think people will be like, what the hell? And like, for me, that's a good thing. I love play experiences like that. Clearly that's why we do play experiences like that, just to ride that roller coaster, like just come in. I just talked to a colleague of mine who doesn't know anything about Bug, and I'm like, I am so happy for you, because they will come in and be just riding that ride, just completely open, with no expectations or anything like that. And so I think, because this play is not produced very often, the last time, and I believe the only time that it was ever produced in Milwaukee, was with Splinter Group 10 years ago. And so there's going to be a lot of people who are not familiar with this. And I think people are going to be a little concerned about, because I said in that video, like, it's, it's dark and it's challenging and it's this, and I think people can be a little, questioning to, should I see it? Yes, you absolutely should see it, just for the roller coaster ride, the experience. And we have a great team of art, not like pat myself on the shoulder or anything, but Joe Lino and Matt Specht and Tess Cinpinski, and we got Robert Kennedy back on stage. I'm so very excited to have Robert Kennedy back, because we haven't had him since the Nether, when we were shut down in pandemic, and we love working with that dude very much. And so it's a great team of, and everybody, of course, backstage, that just from the performance aspect of it, I think we have a real powerhouse team of people to bring this to life. And it's just going to be a rare experience for you to get to see this play produced. And so it's again, it's there's some real dark, bright, funny spots in this thing, and just a very much what am I witnessing? And sometimes that's just a good ride.
I would say all of that verbatim. I would say it in exactly those words. I agree that I would, the way that I've been talking to the show about the show to people, especially people who, if constructivist is not one of their like something that they always have the appetite for as far as the material goes or the subject matters go. I think this is the kind of show where, like, yes, know your limits and maybe check out our content disclosure page on our website, but don't be scared of this play. I think this play is so interesting and smart and accessible. It's smart without being pretentious.
Yeah.
It's dark without being trauma dumpy, self-indulgent, shock value for the sake of shock value. I think it's a very honest, interesting play that makes you, it's a mystery too. It's the kind of play where you watch it and you're trying to figure out the entire time what you can trust, what truth is, what reality is. And that to me is a fun, interesting time. That's where a lot of the fun comes from. That's what makes you want to, after the show, go and debrief with a friend of, okay, what do you think happened? What do you think this is? And that's, I think, what a lot of audiences will enjoy about Bug.
Everybody's
So,
going to
like,
go and seek out Tim McVeigh again, and Ted Kaczynski, and all of the 90s conspiracy laden ground. Yeah.
yeah.
Got you. Yeah. Smart without that. That's a glowing review.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe that. Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Natalie. I very much appreciate your just all you do to make sure that the arts are heard in Milwaukee. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled to do it. So
I'm so thrilled you were here.
well, yeah. All right. You'll see this at least by Monday. So
Great.
my write-up. So
Great.
cool.
Great.
If you need anything else, you know where to find us. If you need any like fact checking or whatever, you know where to find us.
Okay, sounds good.
Yay.
Cool. All right. Good. Break legs with the rest of rehearsal process.
Yeah.
And yeah, enjoy the rain. And I hope it lightens up soon.
Same.